Okay, so we're moving on today without Tanya. I know we didn't have last couple of weeks and we're not going to have the next couple of weeks, but it's still nice to refresh ourselves. Very interestingly, this chapter 12 is a very big chapter, a very important chapter discussing the Beinoni. So today is part 2. Last time was part 1, now it's part 2, a refresher. And when we come back, we'll do part 3. So it will be a perfect refresher to go back into the weekly. Okay, so as I told you in the introduction that I shared with you today, humans and animals, we see that they're very similar, and we're going to see today what is exactly the difference. So, very interestingly, if you look at animals, if you look at a cat and a mouse, okay, who doesn't know the relationship of a cat and a mouse? So, could it be that ever that a cat will not run after a mouse? Like that, it never changes. That's the way it is. Like, okay, it's for like hundreds of years. That's how we know it's impossible. But now, some people thought that we can change the cat. We could change him. And what do they do? It's a famous story. I think we shared it already. But some people thought that they can train a cat to become fully in control of himself. Fully. Okay, they can train him to become like whatever. So what they did is that they trained the cats to be servers. So they can bring plates to people, they can bring platters of food, they can serve, and they can be trained, and they actually could be trained. But they could be trained to control, they thought that they could be trained to control themselves. But what happened then, as you know, is that so there was actually a whole situation where there was like it was in a king's palace, and they brought all these special trained cats to serve, and they are doing an amazing job. And there was one smart person there that wanted to show them that cats are not trainable. Cats will be cats forever and ever and ever. What did he do? He takes out of his pocket a mouse, and the mouse starts running down on the floor. That second, the cats dropped whatever they had in their hands, all the plates, all the food, whatever they had in their hands, dropped it and ran after the mouse. That's cats. Cats will always be cats. So it doesn't matter how much you train, but a cat will always be a cat. That's the animal. And it seems that we are the same thing. It seems that we are also born with this natural instincts. Okay, we also have natural instincts, and it seems that no matter what, like we can be trained, we can be educated in this, and somehow sometimes we fall right into our natural instincts that are bad. We can go to school, learn to control ourselves and grow, and then comes a mouse, and boom, suddenly we forget everything we learned, and we have no control. It works also, it's really bad. It's also with a diet, like the perfect example is like you can, we try very, very, very hard, to train ourselves, to control ourselves, to eat only the healthy food and only make right choices. But somehow something very tempting comes, the mouse comes, and we fail. Because there's something about sugar, I don't know what it is, but there's something, there's some instincts that seems that we don't have control. So the question is there a difference between us and the cat when it comes to self-control? Are we exactly the same? No. And if it's the same, then in what way is a human different or more elevated than an animal? So you say we can't control the urges. Yeah.
You can explain it to yourself logically. Right now, it's not a time, not a place, another thing to do. You have to continue doing what's supposed to.
And you're not gonna fail. We could fail.
What's the point of if we just gonna walk all the way up?
Right. No, so we have to listen to our mind, right? We are trainable, and we have a mind that could control us. So that's what we're going to deal with today. Who is in control? Is our mind in control, or is our heart and instinct in control? What is really in control? And we have all day lots of struggles, okay, lots of temptations, lots of mice coming around us, like the example of the mouth. We have a lot of struggles, and all the struggles are between the heart and the brain, okay? Constantly they're fighting. What do I want and what should I do? Okay, the heart is all the natural instincts, okay? It's everything that's emotional. It's telling us, I feel like doing this. And the brain is saying, what's the better choice? Okay, it's thinking, okay? So the brain is going to be more like choice, will, like what we want to do. And the heart is always going to be focused on what the person's desire is, like the instincts. So today we're going to learn a very, very important line, a very important principle in Judaism. And it's also a foundational principle in Tanya. And we call it, even this principle is called almost like the Aleph, like the basic Aleph, the Aleph Bet of Chassidut. Okay, like the basic point of Chassidut is the principle that we're gonna learn today. It's called Moach Shalit al Halev. Okay, this is what the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is bringing it today in chapter 12. Moach Shalit al Halev. What does it mean? Moach is the brain. The brain controls the heart. Okay, so now we need to process this. Okay, this is a very foundational principle, that the brain is able to control the heart, and everything is controllable by the brain. That's the foundation. But practically, we really need to internalize this, and it's going to take us a lot of classes to internalize this, but we're going to start today to lay this foundation. And so our class is going to have three parts of the middle of the Tanya. We're going to first understand what's Moach Shalit al Halev, what's the difference between humans and animals. And then we're going to see that there's an advantage of light over darkness. And then we're going to see what happens when the Yetzer Hara wakes up and some stuff are uncontrollable. Like there's a Yetzer Hara over there. So we're going to begin by differentiating between the man and an animal. In our view, in the human's view, okay, what's the build-up, the psychological build-up of a man? If you look at a human being, does the mind rule over the heart? So as you discussed before, it seemed that yes, right? Now, that's what we're gonna start, and then slowly we're gonna see that from another point of view. We're gonna see how it's expressed in a religious, from a Torah perspective. Okay, so to see the difference between animal and man. First, we need to see we look alike in many, many, many ways. We both eat, we drink, we sleep, we enjoy life, we get angry, we fight, okay? There's love, there's fights, there's everything like in animals and in humans, right? Some even say that a man comes from monkeys because there's something very similar, okay? And the evolution, based on those theories of evolution, they say that the monkey was bent down and slowly straightened up to a human, to a man. Okay, so based on that, it seems that it's about the back. That's the only thing that changed, is the back used to be more lying and now the back is straightened up. But we're going to see that there's a much bigger difference between humans and animals. So what's the difference? What do you think is the main difference between a man and animal?
The brain.
The thought process, right? Mind, logic. Brain, something in there. Okay. So before we go to all this brain stuff, look at the physical body of a human and the physical body of an animal. Very interesting. The animal walks on four legs. Okay, most of the animals, they walk on four legs, and the head is at the same level as the body. Okay, the tail at the bottom, like everything is on the same level. But the person walks on 2 feet, and the head is above the body. The head is above the heart. Right? There's something about physical, if you compare the man and the. Okay, of course, there's some animals, like the bird walks on 2 feet and the head is above. Okay, and maybe there's a meaning to it. Maybe it tells us something about the bird, but most animals are on 4. And it seems to be like something technical, but Hashem created us in a certain way. and this must be teaching us something about the psychological buildup of a man. It must tell us something over here. So by the animal, the heart rules over the brain. Okay, the instincts of an animal is what decides. Okay, he can never act against his instincts. Okay, think of this cat. If he has an instinct that there's a mouse, he's gonna go there. Like there's nothing that can stop it. Nothing. Okay, even the most developed animal, it's still based on his instincts, based on his heart. Okay, he has no self-control, no free will. Like there's no choices that he makes. Like it's all from the heart. Okay, as soon as the mouse jumps, the cat throws all the trays, everything is forgotten, and they're running after the mouse right away. Now, when you compare this to the man, a man, the brain rules over the heart. This is a basic principle. Okay, the brain is ruling. Jewish education teaches us how to hold off. Like even when you educate children, we're learning how to restrain, to hold in. Okay, right away, the child learns when he's eating. Think: is this kosher? Or is this not kosher? What bracha should I say? You right away like stop. You don't just, you feel like eating your lollipop, you run after it. No, there's a certain self-control that is being taught, and it starts right away. And even a child can do it. Even a child can restrain themselves and can have the mind rolling over the heart. Okay, so it's always going to be the choice of the brain that's going to decide what to do. Today, sadly, the psychology gives room for people to not be in control. Psychology says, listen to your heart, listen to your feelings, go after what your heart tells you. But the Torah does not agree with this. The Torah says, no. The idea, there's a strong foundation of free will, self-control, because a person is able to control himself. Okay, this is a basic of Torah. Okay, even if we have a very strong desire, even if we have a very strong instinct, we are able to control ourselves. And even in halacha, like the way the Torah law works, it says that a person is always responsible for his actions. It says the person is responsible for his actions, whether he was awake or whether he was sleeping. Okay, and he needs to bear the consequences. Okay, we're going to talk about, there are sometimes exceptions, but a person is always responsible for his actions. You can't say he was sleeping, it wasn't his fault. But if you look at the court today, like the modern court, there's always like the benefit of the doubt. Oh, he wasn't up to thinking in that moment. He was under substance, whatever, under influence. Yeah, under influence, like there's always like an excuse for the person to not be responsible for his action. But the Torah always holds the person responsible for his action because mind rules over the heart, because moach shalit al halev. Okay, now if there's ever a contradiction between the instincts of the heart and what the brain is telling us that he wants to do, the brain is going to win. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's a Jew or not, if it's a human, like if it's a religious person or not. Like it doesn't depend on his education. Okay, it's a basic rule of how God created humans versus animals. Okay, this is like the fact that the mind is able to rule over the heart. It's basic for everybody. It's not just in halacha, but it's for everybody, for everything, for every human being. Okay, now, if you look deeper, like there's a lot of explanation that goes deeper to understand how the body works, but how the brain rules over the heart, because the brain gives life to the soul. The brain gives life to the heart. Like everything starts from the brain, and whatever. So like I'm saying, even physiologically, the way it works is that the brain feeds the heart. So the brain gives the life to the heart. So that's how it works. Now, if a person I'm going to give you an example. If a person feels a very strong desire to eat or to do something like smoking, okay, he knows, and that food or that cigarette he knows is going to kill him on the spot. Okay, like, but the food looks great, the cigarette looks amazing, but so what does the heart tell him, and what does the brain tell him, and who's going to win? So what does the heart tell the person? Go for it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like doing it, who cares? But if the brain comes, the brain says it's so dangerous, please don't do it. It's clear that this food is going to kill you on the spot. The brain is so strong and so clear the brain is going to stop the heart from, is going to stop the person from going after the heart, and the brain is going to win. Okay, in such a case, when the brain is so clear, it's easy for the brain to win and for the body to listen to the brain. When it's very, very clear, like you have to think of a very extreme example, like jumping over the roof, like some things the brain tells us clearly not to do. But okay, we'll discuss it later, like how it works. But the whole principle of the mind ruling over the heart, it's it brings us a basic principle that also exists in Judaism, and it's the principle of free choice, right? We have free choice. The only reason we have free choice is because we have a mind ruling over the heart. The Torah says that the person has the ability to choose and fully control himself, okay, whether to give in to his desires or to hold it in, to listen to what Hashem says. The fact that Hashem tells us what to do tells us that we have the ability to control. Like the fact that Hashem tells us this is what you should do, it's because the brain is able to control it. Otherwise, what's the point? Like we can just go after our heart. We don't need anybody telling our brain what to do. The idea of free choice is also the whole concept of reward and punishment in the Torah, right? Because when our Yetzer Hara, like we have Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov, like the two drives inside of ourselves, they control the person. If he's not responsible for his actions, there's no punishment and no reward. He's not responsible for his actions. So it's not his fault that he sinned. It's not his fault. It's not his effort that made him make a mitzvah. So why should he get a reward or punishment? But Hashem says, no. Hashem says, you are going to get a reward and punishment because you are responsible for your actions. That's why there's reward and punishment. That shows us that Hashem has in mind that we are able to control ourselves and we are responsible for our actions. So now you're going to tell me, okay, it sounds like an amazing principle, but how come so often it's our heart winning? Like in actuality, as much as we understand that the brain has to win, but so many people, and even us, so often we go after our heart, after our desires, way more than after our beautiful brain that tells us what Hashem wants us to do. Like, it sounds amazing. So the reason for that, there's two possibilities. Either the heart convinced the brain. Okay, so the brain is not convinced. So the heart is convinced and the brain is like weak. Or it's an abnormal situation where there's an addiction. Okay, so we'll discuss this too. In the first possibility, very important. It's very, very important to understand because you need to understand how much the brain needs to be convinced in order to influence the heart. If the brain is weak, if the brain doesn't get it, he's not going to convince the heart and he's not going to control the heart in the right way. He's not even going to control the heart. Okay. So the control of the brain over the heart is only if the brain is 100% convinced. Okay. The brain needs to be very clear, very convinced, very like it has to be a black and white situation. Okay. If it's black and white situation, this is dangerous. And this is not like, if it's completely dangerous if you eat it, or if there's nothing dangerous, whether like I'm saying it's really, really sharp. So if it's an extreme situation that something can kill you, I'm giving you that example because it's like the most extreme case that you can see how the brain easily will convince the heart. Then the brain and the heart are facing each other. And of course, the brain is going to win. The problem is that very often the brain is blurry. And the brain is not so clear. The brain doesn't necessarily know what's the right thing. The brain is weak or blurry. And the heart convinces the brain, and the heart tells the brain, come on, it's not so bad, it's gray. And then the brain isn't saying something powerful and strong. Okay. And then the brain lets go and the heart wins. Okay. To change this, we need to address the brain. We need to convince the brain about the dangers of taking such an action. We need to tell the brain, this is dangerous. Okay. And that's what we're going to learn slowly, how to work on our brain so that our brain should control our mind, so that our brain should control our heart. Okay. Now, we also said that sometimes there's an abnormal situation where there's an addiction. Like, okay, if it's in a normal situation, Okay, the brain rules over the heart because that's human nature. Human nature is that the brain should control the heart. But sometimes there's a situation that's completely not normal. And the sages take the example of a rasha, of a wicked person. And the wicked person has a certain addiction, and the certain addiction controls the person till the person is so addicted to something that he can't even bring up the issue to the mind to judge, to make a decision. Okay, he's not even in a situation where he's going to listen or ask the brain for his opinion. In such a situation, you actually need like real therapy to deal with the addiction of the heart. Because if the heart is addicted to something, the heart is not even thinking to ask, is not even consulting with the brain. The heart is just the heart, like it's whatever. It's an abnormal situation. It's a sickness. Let's put it that way. Okay. But with therapy for the heart, then he can go back to a situation where the mind takes place and the mind can roll over the heart. Okay. And the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about it in length, this addiction situation in chapter 17. We'll deal with that. Like the Alter Rebbe is really talking to us human beings with all types of problems. Like he's not talking to lofty people, he's talking to us. So we'll deal with all, this is the foundation, but the next few chapters will really help us handle it and tackle it down all the way. I want to share with you an unbelievable story. It's a very extreme story, but where we see that if you get to such a level where the mind rules over the heart, it can actually it saved someone's life. This person, there was whatever, a Jewish religious person that studied Tanya and everything, like he was a learned person, but he knew French, and he acted as a Russian spy by the French people by the times of Napoleon, I believe. And one day he was in a room with he was in a room and he was basically caught. And they told him, you're here sitting as a spy. And this man, and how were they gonna know that it's true? If his heart is beating so strong, they know that it's true, and they were about to kill him. But this man, his heart stayed normal. So they realized that he's not a spy. Like they understood that they made a conclusion that he's not a spy, and his life was saved. And they asked him, how did you do it? He says, simple. My brain, I told my brain I have to keep my heart calm. My brain controlled my heart. Like as simple as it gets. No, this is a very extreme situation of a man that really worked on himself, but his brain was able to control his heart to the point that his heart wasn't even beating fast when he was caught as a spy. So yeah, this is a story, but where the heart was completely shut, completely, like the heart completely failed and the brain completely won. But that's the level of a tzaddik. We're here trying to talk about, or that's even the highest of the Beinani. We're here, but we're just trying to realize that there's a constant battle between the brain and the heart, and we need to focus, we need to try and get to a place where the brain is going to control our heart. So let's look at this laying of the foundation of Moach Shalit Alev in the words of the Tanya. He's going to put out this foundation, and he's going to say that this nature of the brain rolling over the heart starts at birth. Like we're born with it. Okay, it's the nature of the way the man was created. Okay, and always the man has the power and the ability to control his desires. So let's open the Tanya, chapter 12. I'm going to share it on the screen, and I'm going to help you find it inside. Give me a second. Do you have the same book? I need to double check. No, give me your book, that one. Give me your book, that one. I'll open it there, and I'll. Just a second, ladies. The lady brought her own Tanya. No, we have different pages here. It's okay. Second. Okay.
I believe it's around here. I can't read the Russian, but yeah, it should be around here.
Okay, very short first part for today. So here he's saying, because the brain rules over the heart, as it is written in Raya Mehemna Parshas Pinchas. You see, he's quoting everything. He's not making up anything. By virtue of its innately created nature. For man who was created from birth, that every person may, with the power of the will in his brain, the will of his mind's understanding, restrain himself and control the drive of his heart's lust, preventing his heart's desire from finding expression in deed, word, and thought. When the mind understands the evil inherent in such deed, word, or thought, and he can, if his mind wills it, divert his attention completely from that which his heart craves and turn his attention to the exact opposite direction. Okay, so basically, we're born that way and we're absolutely able to do this. Okay, you saw it's clear, black and white. So let's take it to the next step. So we understood so far on a personal level how the brain rules over the heart. Okay, in the day-to-day life. Now we're going to talk about Hashem. We're going to talk about Torah, and when we have dilemmas of whether to do a mitzvah or not, whether to do a sin or not, okay, we have to take it into the fight of the godly soul and the animal soul, right? We have those two fighting in us, and how is that going to help us to know that the mind rules over the heart? So we learned in the previous chapter, in chapter 9, that the godly soul is mainly in the brain. Okay, it stems from there, and the animal soul is mainly in the heart. Remember that? That's where it starts. That's where it stems from. So the war between them is a war between the desires and the instincts of the heart, and the opposite. The enemy is the internal will of the brain. Okay, that's the war. So what's strong in this world? You tell me. What's very, very powerful in the world? The desires of the heart, the desires and the drives of the animal soul, or the values of Torah and of the godly soul? In simple words, which one is stronger? What do I feel like, or what is the right thing to do? Which one is stronger today in this world? Okay, what I feel like, exactly. Okay. Unfortunately, that's what seems to be stronger. So at first view, listen to me, you're going to learn something very new today. It seems that the desires are stronger than the Torah and the mitzvot. Okay, the world is full of drives, full of temptations, full of tests. It's very, very hard. There's millions and billions of dollars invested in how to pull our hearts into physical things in the world, into enjoying more and more things in the world, right? You just walk in the street or just go to the mall and you'll see how your desires are so intense, okay? And the world is very, very strong and pulling us, right? And most people go after their heart desire, most people go after their desires, okay? And it seems to be that it's much stronger than the Torah and mitzvot. Now, according to the power of these desires, okay, it seems if the desires if all these physical things are so strong, then Jews would never be able to keep Torah and mitzvot if it would be that strong. Like, based on how strong it is, how can Torah and mitzvot prevail? How can Torah still be around if the world is so powerful, right? But at some point, okay, it seems that if the world is so powerful and the physicality is so powerful, we would drown at some point. We would get dragged by the waves of these lies, of all these stupid things in the world. We would get dragged at some point, but we see that Jews survived thousands and thousands of years, okay? And it's something's interesting here. Like, we wouldn't be able to keep Torah and mitzvot in such a tempting world, right? But we're trying to constantly win over the temptations and the desires of the heart. So, and look at each one of you today here. You came to a Tanya class. You came to learn Torah. Look what pulled you here. It's for sure the beautiful brain that's telling you, I need to learn what's right. I need to learn the right stuff. Like, there's something about it. And somehow you did it, even if it's not the most fashionable thing to do, even if it's not the most popular thing to do, it's not what's the most advertised, but you chose to do that. So in the face, it seems that the desires of the world are very strong, but we need to realize that we have in our hands something much stronger. Okay, and we can find the strength that seems so strange, and basically the wisest man of everybody, King Shlomo HaMelech, what did he tell us? He said, it's quoted in the Tanya. You know what? I can show it to you. It's right the next part. I'll show it to you straight here. Very interesting. This is King Shlomo HaMelech said. Okay, and this, whatever is true, whatever his motives, is true, particularly in the direction of holiness. Here's the quote from King Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man. וראיתי שיש יתרון לחוכמה מן הסכלות, כיתרון האור מן החושך. Then I saw that wisdom surpasses folly as light surpasses darkness. Okay, so what does he mean to say? He says, I paid attention that wisdom is better and it's preferred than stupid stuff. Folly is like jokes, okay? It's stupidity. So wisdom is preferred than stupidity, the same way that light is preferred to darkness. Okay, so look at this for a second, and we have now a question. Come on, is it new that wisdom is better than stupidity? Like, what's new over here? What is he telling us? What's King Shlomo, the wisest man of all, have to tell us over here? Why does he have to also prove that wisdom is better than stupidity, and prove and bring an example that light is better than darkness? Who cares? Like I'm saying, what's the big what's so new over here? So it's pretty clear and simple that wisdom is better than something stupid, but he's here to tell us something new. Okay, and that's why the Alter Rebbe is bringing it here. He's telling us who is controlling who and how. Okay, we all understand that wisdom is preferred than stupidity. Okay, and still sometimes, even though wisdom is preferred, sometimes the stupid stuff is stronger and wins. Okay, sometimes the heart's desires are winning over the brain's will. So he's saying, look, I discovered that that wisdom is better than stupidity, but somehow the stupidity always ends up winning. Like, how come? So what is King Shlomo telling us? Something very, very beautiful. He's explaining it to us through the example of light and darkness. Okay, let's look at light and darkness for a second. In which way is the light stronger and better than darkness? Okay, if you look at so we're going to look at in three directions. The way the essence of the control, when light comes in contact with darkness, who wins automatically? Light. Do they have to fight with sticks? No, light and darkness, as soon as they come near each other, the light wins. Also, the amount of control. Do you need a lot of light to push the darkness? Even a little bit of light can push away the darkness, right? And in the third thing, the form of control. The light doesn't have to fight the darkness. It doesn't have to take a lot of energy to fight the darkness. Okay, you don't chase away the darkness with sticks or with like a big fight. The light just has to show up, and the darkness goes away by itself, diminishes and goes away by itself. So light and dark, it's not just something physical, but it's also a parable. He's bringing it as a parable to something spiritual over here. Light is holiness. Light is the truth of Hashem lighting up. Okay, one second, let me close this a second. Light is the truth of Hashem lighting up. And what's darkness? It's impurity. It's the klipa, right? It's whatever's hiding Hashem's truth. Okay, that's darkness. So in the words of King Shlomo, what is he telling us? He's telling us that holiness and impurity, instead of using those words, he's saying that it's wisdom, and he's saying that it's wisdom and failure. Okay, there's another quote that he's going to bring from Kohelet. He's going to say, Tov yeled misken v'chacham mimelech zaken u'chasil. No, it's not here. Okay, so he says, better a poor wise man. No, sorry. Better a poor wise youth, a young man, than an old but foolish king. Okay. Like the words, so what do the sages say? That a man only commits a sin, only does an avera when there's a stupid thought that comes in there. Something stupid enters him. Ein adam over avera ela ki im ken nichnas bo ruach shtut. A person only does a sin if there's something stupid that enters his mind. That's why he'll do an avera. So committing a sin is like is a form of failure. When the person is pulled by his desires, that's why he's committing a sin. True wisdom, when somebody has real wisdom, it's meant to bring the person to the conclusion that there's a creator in the world and he needs to do what the creator wants. That's wisdom. That's light. Okay, so what is King Shlomo telling us here? He says, just like the light wins the darkness, so the same way wisdom wins and controls failure. In the same way. And even though we have drives and we have desires that are so strong, when the person gets a spark of Hashem's truth, a spark of light, that spark of light just needs to show up, and it's stronger than all the desires and the stimulations and the pushing of the world, all the temptations of the world, because that light has something really powerful to it. You saw how light fights the darkness? The same way, you have a spark of wisdom. You remember about Hashem. You remember that Hashem knows the truth. You have a light, a spark of truth. All the stupidities they go away by themselves. So it's really about focusing on just bringing that light. Think about a person that does tshuva, a Baal tshuva. You met before a full Baal tshuva that went like all the way from a life where there was no mitzvot, and now he's doing everything. So as he's going through the process, there's a lot of difficulties. There's family that might be opposing, there's friends that might be opposing, there's different problems at work, keeping Shabbat, keeping the holidays and not being able to go to work, finishing early on Fridays, okay? There's a lot of changes from the past life, there's a lot of challenges. And it seems like though all these challenges, forget it. You can't win. There's so many temptations, so many tests. It's too hard. But there's a certain power that pushes him all the way through. A certain power that gets him through all the challenges. And what is it? It's the power of truth. He knows that this is the truth. He knows that this is the light, the truth. This is Hashem. And as soon as the person catches his godly truth, there's nothing that stands in the way. He knows he's heading in the right direction. All these problems, they're not real problems. He's dealing with them, but they're not obstacles that are going to stop him because he knows the truth. Because a little bit of light pushes the darkness. It's just about finding that truth, getting that spark of truth, and it pushes away the darkness. So the conclusion that we have here is that when a person has challenges and temptations to do something that's not allowed, to do something that's asur, he has a double advantage. First, our nature is that our mind controls our heart. That's our nature. So we are able to hold off and to restrain ourselves from doing these things that's not allowed. But also, the second advantage that we have is that the Torah is light of wisdom. Okay, and a little bit of light pushes away the darkness. So now it becomes much easier to overcome. When we realize those two things, it's easier to overcome the challenges when they were facing. There's a crazy story in the Talmud about a man who was about to sin with a woman. She was not Jewish, and whatever he learned Torah, but he was a religious Jew, but he had temptations, and he was about to sin. And at the last moment, he was wearing tzitzit, and the tzitzit fell on his face, and the tzitzit reminded him who he is and what he is. And in that moment, he got stronger, and he didn't sin. And the story ends beautifully, how the lady was so moved by the power of the mitzvah, by the power of this, that she ended up converting. Basically, what happened to this man is that it's the light, the little spark of truth that came, and the darkness went away. So we have the ability. And I want to share now with you beautiful words that the Rebbe shared with, you may have heard it already, but I want to share it today with you, that the Rebbe shared with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. The exact idea of a little bit of light pushes away the darkness. And the Rebbe told him, you're going to be in a house full of lies, in the UN. And over there, you need to say the truth. And a little bit of light, which is darkness. I'm going to share with you, it's a 2-minute clip of how Benjamin Netanyahu, he talks about this story in the UN. It's in the UN, and you're going to see how he talks, like really powerful. Give me a second, and I just need to get the link. Yeah. What is it? Okay. One second. Okay, I'm sharing. 1 second.
So here in the UN, automatic majorities can decide anything. They can decide that the sun sets in the west or rises in the west. I think the first has already been preordained. They can also decide, they have decided, that the Western Wall in Jerusalem, Judaism's holiest place, is occupied Palestinian territory. And yet, even here, in the General Assembly, the truth can sometimes break through. In 1984, when I was appointed Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, I visited the great rabbi of Lubavitch. He said to me, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't want any of you to be offended, because from personal experience of serving here, I know there are many honorable men and women, many capable and decent people serving their nations here. But here's what the Rebbe said to me. He said to me, you'll be serving in a house of many lies. And then he said, remember that even in the darkest place, the light of a single candle can be seen far and wide. Today, I hope that the light of truth will shine, if only for a few minutes, in a hall that for too long has been a place of darkness for my country. So as Israel's Prime Minister, I didn't come here to win applause. I came here to speak the truth.
Okay. There's a longer clip that I will share with you on the WhatsApp, where I think he's saying this story somewhere else. And there's more details to it, but for now, this will suffice. And I think it's pretty powerful how, if we realize that the truth is, where's my, 1 second, if you realize that the truth prevails and the truth can be a minority, but you only need a little bit of light, and it just expels the darkness by itself. So we also need to realize that we live in a world of lies, and we meet darkness, we meet lies, and we meet a lot of instinct and interest and a lot of physicality in a very strong way. And instead of being scared of those lies and come off weak and say, okay, too bad, I'm giving in, I'm losing it, and apologizing for doing something right. Our job is to light a small candle of truth, to like even a little bit of truth, and show the truth of Torah in a beautiful way, and the truth is for sure going to win. That's our job. So let's look at this in the words of the Tanya. Everything we said till now. Okay, you're following all here. Okay, no problem. Okay, so he's bringing the words of Shlomo HaMelech, that then I saw that wisdom surpasses folly as light surpasses darkness. Now you understand more that concept. This analogy means that just as light has superiority, power, and dominion over darkness, so that a little physical light banishes a great deal of darkness, which is displaced automatically and inevitably without any effort on the part of the light. You don't have to like fight, just bring light. So is there driven away automatically Much foolishness of the klipa and sitra acha of the animal soul located in the left part of the heart, as indeed our sages say, a man does not sin unless a spirit of folly enters him. Remember? Thus, our sages describe the desires of the animal soul as folly. Hence, they are automatically banished by the wisdom of the divine soul that is in the brain, which desires to rule alone over the city, the body, and to pervade the entire body by means of its aforementioned 3 garments. Namely, thought, speech, and action connected with the 613 mitzvot of the Torah, as discussed above. Okay, so here it's important to, like, now that we understood this concept, it's important that we don't make a mistake and not live in delusion. Okay, the face that mind, the fact that mind rules over the heart, it doesn't mean that the heart came out of the picture and has nothing to say. Like, it's not like we're banishing the heart and we're pushing the heart down and the heart is gone. No, the brain cannot erase the heart. The brain has no ability and no, like, it's not able to break the heart and turn it over. The brain can't win over the heart and make the heart non-existent. Okay, the heart is always going to be there. The heart is always going to be very strong. The drives and the desires are always going to continue to storm and be on fire. Be aware of that. Okay, even someone who's successful at controlling his desire, even somebody that's a master of mind ruling over his heart, he still has a very strong and powerful heart that's constantly wanting something. Okay, but this person that's winning, that the brain is willing, it means that he's aware of the existence of the heart. He's aware of the desires. The desires are always there, but he's feeling it, but he's not listening to them. He's listening to his brain. But we need to be aware that they're there. For example, when you're controlling a diet, okay, it doesn't mean that the instincts don't exist. It doesn't mean that you don't feel like eating all this food anymore, okay? The passion for food still exists in the heart, okay? But the brain is getting more and more powerful to tell the body, hold on, like, don't take it, don't eat it, please, you know. but you can't take out the heart of the game. The heart is there. Okay, that's why the war with the heart is not easy. It's not simple at all. Like, the heart is there, very, very strong. And it's the same way with serving Hashem. Even if the person has full self-control, okay, he doesn't give control to the Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara never wins. And let's say this person never sins, the Yetzer Hara never wins. Still, the heart desires are still there. Okay, you can't think that they're not existing. They're there. Okay, even more so. The Yetzer Hara can be burning even stronger. Like, the Yetzer Hara, he sees the person is like constantly doing mitzvot and not listening to him. He's gonna try even harder, right? He's gonna be on fire even more. But this person that the mind controls him is not going to let this heart express in action. It's there, but it's not expressed in the 3 garments, in thought, speech, and action. Okay, it's there, but it's not expressed. The expression is only what the brain is winning. That's the difference between a Beinoni and a Tzaddik. The Tzaddik, he got rid of the Yetzer Hara. A Tzaddik has no Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is out of the game. There's no desires. Yeah, the tzaddik has no physical desires. He doesn't have it. He has no pull to do something that's forbidden. Okay, he's fully good. But the person that has a Yetzer Hara, we're the Beinoni. We have a Yetzer Hara, it's there. Yes, we're managing to control it. We're managing to hold off of this behavior. That's why we're a Beinoni. We're not a tzaddik. Okay, there is a very strong Yetzer Hara there. And that's why the Beinoni has a constant war. Constant war. You can't say to yourself, okay, this is never going to happen to me. I'm never going to do that sin. No, there's always going to be a Yetzer Hara trying to get you to sin. The sages say, don't believe in yourself until the day that you die. Because never believe that you're not going to do something. You always have to control, always have to fight against it constantly. And we're going to talk about it more in length of how to control and everything in chapter 13. Like, the next few chapters will really help us deal with this. But we need to remember to always stay on guard to be able to fight with the Yetzer Hara. Be aware that he's there. So we're going to see that in the Tanya. He's going to explain how the Beinoni is not a tzaddik, because even though the mind rules over the heart and succeeds, okay, but the Beinoni cannot avoid and cannot change the heart. The heart is there, okay? And in the words of the Tanya, he says that the control is only on the control of the Beinoni is only on the clothing, only on the garments, only on thought, speech, and action. He's not able to control the emotions and the heart, like that's there, okay? So that's not controllable. And that's why when a person prays, even after prayer, the Beinoni can be pulled to do things that are not allowed. Like he can be praying so close to God, and the second he finishes to pray, he can go and sin, because he has a heart that's working very hard right after prayer or anytime. Okay, so let's finish this part of the Tanya. Here. Nevertheless, he's not deemed a tzaddik at all. For this dominance that the light of the divine soul has over the darkness and folly of the klipa of the animal soul, which is automatically dispelled, is limited to the divine soul aforementioned 3 garments. It's only on the 3 garments, only thought, speech, and action does the divine soul of the Beinoni dominate his animal soul. So a Beinoni can only control the thought, speech, and action. But the essence and core of the divine soul does not dominate the essence and core of the animal soul deriving from the klipa. Like we don't have control over the heart. Like over it's not, we don't have control over the heart's desires and control over the behavior, but not over what the heart does and feels. For in the Beinoni, the essence and core of the animal soul originating in klipa, which is lodged in the left part of the heart, remains undisturbed, not displaced by the divine soul after prayer. After prayer, when the burning love of Hashem is no longer in a revealed state in the right part of his heart, as it was during prayer when the love glowed openly and was palpably felt there. Rather, the love is after prayer only on the inside. His heart is inlaid with hidden love, meaning that the love which is natural to the divine soul, not the revealed love born of meditation that the Beinoni experiences during the prayer, but a natural, hidden love of God, as will be discussed further in chapter 18, that in the heart of every Jew lies hidden and natural love for God. A little bit more. Then, after prayer, when the love of God is no longer revealed in the heart of the Beinoni, it is possible for the folly, okay, the Yetzer Hara basically, and the wicked fool, the animal soul, to reveal itself in the left part of the heart, craving all physical matters of this world, whether permitted or whether prohibited, God forbid, as though he had never prayed. So we discussed that last week, and as we enter soon Yom Kippur, let's just remind ourselves what happens is during prayer, the person is completely connected to Hashem, and the brain is fully aware of the good and of the truth. But as soon as that's over, the heart can wake up. We spoke about the heart being asleep during prayer, but as soon as prayer is over, the heart wakes up. But the prayer helps us. The prayer helps us feed the brain with truth. Because remember, if the brain is confused and blurry, the brain can't control the heart. The brain needs to be fed with truth and truth. The more we feed ourselves with truth, the more we're going to be able to make the right choices and convinced choices. The more our brain is going to be able to win over the heart. The brain must be convinced and clear-minded in order to win the heart. And that, how do we feed the brain? A big way of doing it is in prayer. When every single day we take a few moments to just think about Hashem, think about the truth, think about Hashem, the creator of the world, and wanting to do Hashem's will, we're helping the mind build up to be able to control the heart. But if the mind is weak, if we don't learn Torah, if we don't feed ourselves with that, then we don't have a mind that rules over the heart, because the mind has nothing to tell the heart. Anyways, so let's summarize what we learned today and take away something for to work on the next few weeks till we have next class. So we learned today that the person is built psychologically, okay? We're built and we're born that way, that the wheel in the brain is able to control fully the desires of the heart. No matter what, no matter when, always the brain is able to. But that's if the brain is very clear and 100% convinced, right? Now, when we talk about the Yetzer Tov, the animal soul and the godly soul, the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara facing each other, the ability of control of the person is going to grow. Just like a little bit of light can push away the darkness, and the darkness is going to slowly diminish and disappears by itself. The same way, the light of the godly soul is able to push away lots of darkness of the Yetzer Hara, and this darkness can disappear automatically as long as we feed it with the truth. And we saw also that the control is limited only to the garments, to thought, speech, and action. We can only control thought, speech, and action. We cannot control the desires. The desires are always going to be there, strong, and they're always going to be there. The Yetzer Hara, we need to remember always that he continues to exist very strongly, but he's never going to completely succeed to take away the person that's controlling the Yetzer Hara and the desires. He's not going to take it to action. Okay, the desires are there, but our job is not to take those desires to actuality, to action. So, main lesson we learned today is that we are responsible for our actions. Okay, it's easier to say, it's not my fault, I couldn't hold myself back, and forgive ourselves and say, it's okay, you'll do better next time, right? We do that all the time. We're very kind to ourselves. But this approach is not good. It's going to be a fulfilling self-prophecy, because then the heart is always going to roll over the brain if you go that route. Okay, I couldn't, I didn't feel like it. Then your heart is winning. But when we remember that we are able to control ourselves, and we believe that in every situation the brain is controlling the heart, that's how we were made, that's how we're able to, then that knowledge gives us power. Okay, that knowledge can take away the responsibility that we have to control our desires. Like, we are able to control our desires. So very, very interesting. If you look at the first time that a human being was faced with anger, happened in the beginning of the Torah. Adam and Chava had 2 children. Those 2 children were fighting and fighting. And there's a story of those 2 children, Cain and Hevel. Okay, Cain was so angry at Hevel. Okay, the anger was like really, really strong, to the point that he wanted to kill him, and he actually ended up killing him. So what we see very interesting is that before he killed him, before Cain killed Hevel, Hashem revealed himself to Cain, and Hashem said to him a very important line. It's written in the Torah. And it's actually very interesting, that sentence, because it's exactly about the ability of self-control over the Yetzer Hara. Like, you have this anger, you have this feeling that you want to kill your brother. So what does Hashem tell him? Ve'ilecha teshukato ve'ata timshal bo. The urge is towards you. You have a big urge, but you can be the master of this urge. You're able to master it. So on one hand, yes, you have a huge urge towards you. The fact that you feel angry and negative, okay, that's part of the nature that Hashem tells him, that's the nature I gave you. You have a feeling of anger, that's fine. But then the Yetzer Hara is trying to make you fail, okay? But that you have the power. Like, so the all those feelings you can't change. But on the other hand, you can be a master. Don't give me an excuse that the Yetzer Hara controlled you, because you are in power. You are in control. Okay, you can hold it in. And because it is so, you are going to be responsible for your actions. Hashem told him, you are able to control yourself, you're responsible for action. And what happened? He was responsible for his actions. As soon as Cain killed Hevel, Hashem came and held him responsible and punished him. And Hashem warned him. Hashem said, you feel like it, but you are able to control yourself. And he did not. So this conflict over here is exactly the conflict that we have between the brain and the heart. I told it to you within the story. Okay, the heart told him, kill Hevel. And the brain told him, no, Hashem doesn't want me to kill Hevel. But he couldn't control his anger. Okay, it burst. So Hashem told him, no, moach shalit al halev. You are able to control your anger. So when we think that moach shalit al halev, that our mind is able to control our anger, if we internalize it, now we just laid the foundation. We're going to internalize it even more in the next few classes, but we're going to see that it can enhance our lives beautifully. Okay, like, it really helps to make our life better. Imagine the words that come out of your mouth. Many times we have something that we feel like saying, like it's at the tip of our tongue, and we don't stop it, and then we said it, and then we regret it. Imagine that we know we have control and we control it. Imagine. How much better would it be? Same with our reactions when we're angry. Anger, it's like a huge flood in our hearts, like those huge, intense emotions. And in those moments, we can react in such stupid ways that can actually kill relationships. It can really hurt people, and close people, far people, it really, really can hurt and cause lots of real damage. But imagine that the anger is under control, and remember that our mind is able to control our actions. We can feel angry, but our mind can control our actions. Then every reaction over this anger is going to be measured and calculated, and we're not going to cause too much damage, because moach shalit al halev. Even like in relationships, like in marriage, in relationships with our children, sometimes in the family there's conflicts. There can be conflicts between husband and wife, conflicts between parents and children, okay? And sometimes these conflicts can be uncontrollable. But if we live in those relationships with control, self-control and awareness that we are able to control, then it's going to really have a big impact on a positive way in the family relationships. Another very interesting, another example, last one, is when we wake up in the morning. Are you even ever not feeling like getting out of bed? So sometimes
often you don't feel like.
So see who's controlling who over here when you're lying in bed. So we can be tired, I can't wake up early, I can't. But when if we have self-control, we realize that we are able to be very strong, and if we really want, and if our brain is strong and says you have to wake up, you have a very important thing to wake up for, you wake up and your body doesn't even feel tired. So our mind controlling our bodies, our mind controlling our hearts is really a powerful tool. And we're going to learn we're going to learn more of the challenges and help ourselves more with it, because it's really a journey. It's not as simple as it sounds, as we saw, like most of the time, somehow it's our heart that wins. So we need to work on it until our mind wins every single time, until we become a real Beinoni. So today we spoke a little bit more about controlling our actions and our speech, but next time we're going to talk about how much we have control over our thoughts. Like, how do you control the thoughts? Like, it's a much harder one, because thought is one of the garments, it is one of the expressions, but it's somehow inside. So that's what we're going to see, if we can control our thoughts or if we can't, and how, etc. That's what we're going to talk about in next class. Looking forward. It's 1 second.